In this video, I want to look at how you create content through the Lifecycle system. So, to get to this page, I've clicked on the Marketing and Autopilot section, and then I've clicked into the Content section, which brings me here. Up in the top left, I've got this big button that says Create New Content. If I click on that button, it takes me to a page whereby I can start to fill out the information for the article or video that I want to create. Filling this out will create a piece of content that sits on the blog that we've created for you. So, as an example, if I put a heading in here of Lifecycle is great, and then the introduction text. So, introduction text, it will be used when somebody is just browsing through your entire blog and they've got a preview of all of the different articles. What's the text that's going to try and pull them in? It'll also get used if, for instance, this article gets sent out as an email to say, here's what this article is about, why don't you go and read it? Or if you was to share it to social media and it says, here's what this article is about, why don't you go and read it? So the introduction text should be quite short. We've got a character limit here of 350 characters and should be quite punchy, that would make somebody want to actually go and read your article. So in here, if we just write why Lifecycle is changing the way estate agents work. Okay. Underneath that, you've actually got your article that you're going to write here. So in this section, you're going to write whatever it is that you want to write. You've got all the normal functions that you would have in Word up here, where you can turn text bold or center it, add an image, add a link, that sort of stuff. Underneath, you can add tags. So tags are quite useful if in the future you ever want to know, for instance, show me the type of people that have looked at these types of articles. So for instance, this article might be about, let's tag this as software. Okay, so now I've got a tag of software. And anytime I create another article that's about software, I could give it that tag, and eventually one day I could run the search and say, show me all the people that look at articles related to software. You guys might use tags such as new homes or properties for sale, or something like that. It's not majorly important, but something that you might want to use as you're creating, if you're creating articles that are similar in their type, i.e. probably about things about new homes. Underneath that, you've got the details of when you want this article to go live. So it's set as now, pretty much. You might decide that you want it to go live in the future. So you might be sitting down one afternoon to schedule all of your content for the whole month. We'll put this one for now, the next article we're going to put for next week, the one after that for the week after, and so on and so forth. Article end date you can leave blank unless you specifically want this to disappear off of your blog after a certain amount of time. So let's say, for instance, you've just written an article about Christmas opening hours, or why selling a property at Christmas is a great idea, and you want it to actually disappear off the blog on the 30th of December, you can put the end date in there as well. The good thing about that is that it will still exist. The blog will still exist. It's just been hidden. So new visitors won't see it. So therefore they won't think, wow, your content's out of date. But old people that have got the link to it, let's say, for instance, still sitting in their inbox as an email that you sent out, if they were to click it, they won't get taken to an error page. The blog still exists, it's just hidden. Underneath that, you can upload your image for the blog, or if you click on this side, you can actually paste in a YouTube link if it's a video that you want to put onto the blog. Down here, pretty obvious, show on blog or not. This really function comes into play more when you're editing an existing blog that you no longer want to show. Underneath that are the settings for Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, whereby you can actually change the title as to what you want it to say on each of these platforms if you wanted to. And then underneath that, you could change the image that's going to show on social media if you don't want it to be the same as the one in the blog. And you can even change the description for social media as well if you want to. Down the bottom here, you can choose which pages you want it to share to if you've got more than one Facebook page. And then underneath that, you can choose where in the funnel this piece of content actually sits. So, as an example, if you're writing an article about the 4 best restaurants in the area, that's really just awareness content. They don't need to in any way be interested in what you do as a company. It's just awareness. If they read it, then they become aware that your brand exists, but it doesn't show that they're in any way interested in selling or buying or letting or renting a house. So that sort of stuff would be awareness content. Interest may be something that is softly related to what you do, but doesn't necessarily mean they've got a keen interest. So maybe that could be an article that is what to do if you're thinking about selling in the next 24 months. Consideration would be something a little bit more serious than that. Evaluation is something whereby they're seriously thinking about it along with intent. So you kind of get the idea. You choose where you feel somebody sits in your funnel if they were to read this particular article, and you can usually tell by the title of the article. On this side, you choose if this content is specifically related to a landlord, a tenant, a buyer, or a vendor. If it's an article such as, should I buy first or sell first? From that article, we can't really tell whether they're a buyer or a seller, and so therefore you'd choose general. Only choose one of these if the article is specifically for one of these types of people, i.e. how to avoid prison if you're a landlord. Is clearly an article aimed at landlords, and therefore if someone is reading it, it's quite likely that they are a landlord. So once you've chosen where in the funnel and which profile it meets, you can then save your article. I'm not going to do that because I don't want this test article to sit inside my test account. So once you've saved it, you'll be taken back here and your article will show on the list. And you have just created a piece of content inside the Lifecycle system.